morning, everyone. I am Shaima from Near East University, and today I will be your host for our program, Let's Be Connected. I will shed a little bit more light on the program. So, Let's Be Connected is a program that we have newly come up with, and the main goal behind it is to, of course, like the name suggests, to keep connected no matter what the situation is. So with this program, we have the opportunity to stay connected and to communicate and to interact with students, with lecturers, as well as officers and officials from Near East University. I will now introduce our respected guest for today, Associate Professor Dr. Chise Chavush-Olu, the Director of the Education Unit and the Vice Chair of the Department of English Language Teaching at Near East University. Dear Professor, welcome.
Hello, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. It's a beautiful day. It's really good being with you.
Indeed, exactly. Thank you so much. I would like to first thank you so much for having accepted to be our respected guest for today. How is everything? How is the new situation, given that we are now affected by the pandemic, slowly going back to normal in TRNC? How have you been with this whole new situation?
Well, actually, we're okay, I guess. We've done really well around the island. We've kept the cases really low, and everybody put in some effort to control the situation. And as a university, I think we've done brilliantly because we haven't actually stopped educating our students. Within a matter of a couple of days, we were online teaching, and we haven't lost anything from our semester, which is, I think, a big achievement. And hopefully everyone is happy about soon ending the semester without any particular losses in terms of education.
Exactly. It is indeed what we expect the most, especially from a tertiary educational system. This is what we expect, that nothing should come across, should block the ways of our students. And indeed, like you said, it is something very that we need to be grateful of, and we need to really appreciate that the fact that there was no barrier to this semester's educational system. And thank you as well for being part of the amazing team of Near East University to make this possible.
Thank you very much for inviting me as well.
You're welcome, Professor. So now, if you will allow me to ask you some questions to shed more light on the program in general, and about our university and the departments that might help the students and anyone who is watching us right now. So the first question that I'm going to ask is, what does this program cover?
I'm from the Department of English, so we have got actually 3 graduate programs. We've got an MA in English Language Teaching program and PhD in English Language Education, and we also have an MA program in English Language and Literature. So these 3 programs cover mostly language and linguistics related issues. Of course, they are research-based programs, even though we have the non-thesis tracks as well for students who do not prefer to write a thesis. But mainly the programs are focused on teaching of languages, English as a foreign language specifically. We have comparative studies as well with other foreign languages. And for the literature department, we have the interdisciplinary studies with literature and culture within the program.
Thank you, and I believe that this such program content is very important for our university because the population of international students here is quite big. So I believe personally that having this aspect of intercultural aspect in such a program as well, I think it's nice because it kind of de-alienates the students, the foreigners, when they come here as well, given that we are studying in such an environment. Maybe I could be standard corrected, but you can of course add something to this about foreign students.
Now, the programs are specific to our students. So this is not like the English prep school where the students actually learn English to go on to study their programs. So when our students come, we have the English language proficiency test. Of course, if they have other tests, they may be exempt from this. But if they feel that their English is not enough to proceed to the department, they have the opportunity to study for 1 year or 1 semester at the English prep school, which is different from the department. But what our departments offer is more specialization in the area of languages and intercultural communication, of course, that is part of it. Philosophy is part of it. For example, in the literature department, we offered this semester a course called Enlightenment. So there are really interesting courses that are offered every semester within each program. And one thing that, as the director of the education unit, I can give you this information as well, that we have reorganized the way that students can register for the graduate programs. So now, in most of the graduate programs across the campus, we have got elective courses, right? So, and every semester, there are some compulsory courses within each department that the students need to take. Apart from the compulsory ones, students can choose any course from any department. So if a student comes to study, for example, international relations, and he wants to learn more about modernism, he can come and take a course from English language literature department. Or if one of our students want to learn more about food science, if that's relevant, then they can go and take a course from another department. So we made that possible for the students to choose any course from any department. And this, we believe, will help the way for our students to mingle and also expand their horizons field-wise. So they won't be just focusing on, of course, they will be taking their own departmental courses as well, but they will have the opportunity to learn about different things, which may lead to more interdisciplinary studies for their own thesis in the future.
Exactly. Thank you so much for having shed this much light. I believe that if those students who are listening to us right now, they are getting a lot of information about this interdisciplinary aspect of this particular department and this particular unit. So I will move to the next question. What are the assessment methods within this program?
We use, because this is a graduate program, these are graduate programs, we are more focused on performance and research. So most of the courses, of course, assessment depends on the content of the course itself, whatever is taught. Most of the courses use presentations because we want our students to have the confidence of presenting their own work or a piece of information in front of an audience. That's one of our main assessment tools. And also we are research focused. So in many courses, they are expected to write small research papers. So that's the main thing as well. Some courses have exams, written exams, but most of these they tend to be open book exams. So because our aim here is not to test people's knowledge, we want them to think critically, we want them to come up with new knowledge, we want them to be able to discuss things, so or read things and critically analyze those readings. So most of the assessment methods are related to performing in that sense, rather than exams.
Okay. I think it's quite a great thing that the assessment methods are like this, because it indeed doesn't entrap the student in one box, but it gives them rather the freedom, like you said, to critically assess and express themselves when it comes to this field and the classroom. And the next question is also quite related to this one. As a professor, with your experience, what do you think are some tricks and aids that might help students to understand, to better understand during the class? What do you think? Can you give them some tips while in class? What can they do, maybe aside from conventional methods? What can you advise them aside from that?
After this term, I believe blended learning will be part of our lives. So we will be incorporating in most of our courses online materials, some sort of online aspect. And I think that they need to be aware of what the next lesson will be about. We have very detailed course outlines that we share with our students. So the students know every week what we are going to do in class. So I would suggest them to come prepared and come with questions, because if the questions come from the students, then learning happens. If the questions come from the teachers, the students look for an answer that the teacher expects. But if they come with questions, then they can discuss, they can share ideas with their friends. So I think at this level, coming to class prepared is the best thing they can do.
All right. Yeah, indeed. Indeed, because it's not only about teaching, that it's also about learning. It's a bilateral procedure, as we say.
Definitely.
Since you mentioned about the online classes, I do have a question regarding the online classes. So I would like to just bring it in right now. How has the department been conducting the online classes so far? What methods have been applied?
We have got the Moodle system set in our Uzebim team. So we have got all of our courses online right now. And within each course, we have got weekly materials shared with the students. Depending on the course content, these may be videos, they may be lecture recordings of the lecturers about that week's topic. They may be readings from different sources. And then every week we meet with the students through live sessions. So, of course, depending again on the content of the course. Students are given assignments, and they submit their assignments through the online system again, and they receive feedback through the online system. We also support our students with office hours. So for each course, we have one extra office hour, which we conduct every week, and students come in and they can ask questions related to the course or related to the program and discuss things with their lecturers, aside from the course content given for that week.
Of course. And also the next question, again related to the online system, what about the exams? You mentioned about some assignments, but what about exams? Because as we know, we have midterm exams and end of term exams. So what can you tell us about the online exams? How have they been conducted so far, and what have the students' responses been?
For this semester specifically, because this semester is not really called an online education. It's different from online or distance education, because when you call something distance education, it means that you know from the beginning that this course is going to be taught online. So you make your plan accordingly. But this semester is something what we call in education remote emergency teaching. So this was something that nobody expected. Nobody was prepared for this. So as a result of this, we wanted to reduce the anxiety that might have been caused in our students because of exams or assessment, because they're worried about these things. They're also worried about what's going on outside. So we tried to reduce the amount of exams, or at least didn't give them high-stake exams. So we divided the exams into little quizzes maybe every week, maybe every other week. So give them time to study smaller pieces of information
Okay.
and do online quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
And these online quizzes sometimes were invigilated live by their teachers, so they would all come together in a in one session, live session, and the teacher would invigilate them while they're doing the exam. Or sometimes they would be asynchronous, so a certain amount of time would be given to the students, like an hour, to log in whenever they like and complete the quiz. And then when they are done, usually the assessment is done automatically. So at the end of the quiz, they can see their grade right away.
Oh.
For the graduate programs, we didn't actually use many exams, but we tended to divide the assignments into smaller pieces this time. So they would, if they had an essay for the end of the semester, for example, we made them write drafts of that in smaller pieces, so that at the end of the semester they would put everything together. So we tried to anticipate the anxiety of the students in that sense, and try to help them.
Yeah, indeed. That's amazing. It's very nice to see that there is this adaptive quality to, like you said, it is an emergency situation, and even in education there is such an adaptation to be able to meet with whatever is coming our way, whether we are on you are on the teaching side, or we are from the administrative side, or even from the student side, because whatever we are giving out, they are receiving, and to keep this well balanced bilateral relationship. My other question will be, from your teaching perspective, from your experience as well, how can you maybe you can tell us how you spot successful students, as in, for you, what makes a successful student? How do you spot them, and what qualifies them?
Well, successful students for me is always the one who asks questions. I know this is going to be very, classic answer, but a question that, especially at an MA and PhD level, we don't expect people to know a lot, but we want them to be inquisitive. We want them to be willing to learn more, because a graduate program is all about research, really. And you should be interested in making a contribution to the knowledge base of the world. So just doing a research for the sake of doing it doesn't make you a successful student. So you have to have that craving of adding something, learning something yourself, but also through that learning, finding out new information that would be useful for other people as well. So when students come into the office, especially new students, I try to give them all this information that is, of course, most of them are international students. They are in a new context, and it's very difficult for them to adapt. So we give them a lot of information, and then I try to monitor them, see what they will do with that information. If they come back with more questions, that means they have thought about it. But if they just take away the information, leave, and I never see them again, that means that student is not going to follow what has been given.
Exactly. So in a way, you're already assessing them from the very beginning, because of their reactions to your advice. Again, related to this, what are your expectations then? From what you just told us, you did mention some expectations of yours when it comes to students, but generally speaking, what do you expect from the students, especially in the first semester? What are your highest expectations from them?
We expect them to be research oriented. That's our main thing, because in our programs, in all of the programs actually across campus, for PhD students, there are 2 compulsory courses. One of them is the Research Methods and Ethics course, and the other one is Education for Learning course. these two courses aim for different things, but they are the basis of any PhD program, if you ask me. The first one prepares the students for research, and this research course is compulsory for MA students as well, because we expect them to come with that research orientation so that they can contribute to their own learning and our own knowledge production. So we try to prepare them, and we expect them to be open-minded about these research topics. They may not know everything about the topic that they're going to study, but they have 2 years to cover that. But we want them to come with that research orientation, at least to be able to search, read, and come up with some ideas of their own. We don't want them to be passive recipients, definitely not. We want them to be active learners of whatever is being studied. So research is one of our compulsory courses for this reason, actually. And we hope to prepare them in the first semester. They get ready for conducting research, not at the end of the first semester, but at least the way that we designed the course is that the students are prepared to come up with a research proposal by the end of the course. That's the aim. So this research proposal will be their thesis topic if they want to continue to do it. So from the very first semester, we try to get them to think about what they will do for their thesis, how they will do it, whether it's possible to do it or not, so that at the end of the semester, they have a solid proposal, research proposal for the thesis. And we take them in, as a department, we take them into proposal meetings. So we meet them individually as the departmental board, and we ask them questions about what they want to do for the research related to your proposal, to their proposal. And based on that, we assign supervisors for them who would guide them in the coming semesters for the seminar course and for the thesis as well. We found this was the best way to guide our students, not only to meet our own expectations of them, but also to help them have that ground information about how to carry out research and what courses to take, really, because when they know what their thesis is going to be about in a year's time, they can choose courses related to their thesis instead of taking irrelevant stuff. So we found that this was a very, very useful thing for our students, and we hope that the way that we designed it is going to help them as well become better researchers.
Indeed, we also hope that as well, because like you mentioned, the faculty and the department, especially the departmental staff, is doing a great job to actually raise your expectations alongside with what you are guiding them with. So I think this is something very helpful, and it's very fair as well for students. Another question is, like, for example, when we come to when we are talking about tertiary institutions, usually the main questions are regarding the accreditation of the diplomas and the documents. So can you give us a little bit information about the accreditation of our diploma, and if you have any information related to this matter?
All of our graduate programs in our department are accredited by the Higher Education Accreditation Board in Cyprus and in Turkey as well. And through the Turkish accreditation, I think in many countries it's being approved. So we have had many graduates who went on to do their PhDs in England or in Germany, in Canada. So we haven't had any problems actually with the accreditation of our diplomas so far.
Okay, thank you. And like you mentioned, that students who have graduated from our institution, they have gone to pursue their further studies abroad. Relating to graduated students, so do you provide any assistance or help, or maybe is there the possibility of students who have graduated to come back to you for advice, for help? Is this possible? Is this something that you are doing for students?
Of course, we are always in touch with our graduates, as long as they seek for our advice. In several cases, I've been a referee in their applications after graduation. We are also working on different research projects. I've seen one of my previous students, for example, he's connected, he's probably listening, he's in Nigeria, and we have plans of working further on his thesis in different publications. So it doesn't end when you graduate from Near East University. It just becomes, you become part of a bigger family, really. So we're always open. Obviously, students can contact us whenever they like, and in mostly academic matters, but in other things as well. Whenever they need advice, we're ready to give them.
That's amazing. That's something very positive, and I believe it's very motivational for those students who are watching us, and also those who will watch the video later. Thank you so much for giving such a detailed explanation and and being honest about what we are all offering. It
Thank
gives
you.
a general idea of the standards of our institution of Near East University as well. One other thing is, what about job opportunities from this field? What are the job opportunities that branch from it?
To be honest, it's a very specific field, because they can become academics, because these are graduate programs, and when they do the thesis program, it means that you're probably academically motivated to become lecturers at universities. So they can work at any higher education institution. They can work in any school as well, private schools, in their countries, or in Cyprus too, and Turkey. But if you ask me, if you're going to be a teacher in any school, in like a primary school or a high school, you wouldn't need an MA. So if you're doing an MA, you would aim higher. So that's where the students usually go. But we have students who work in very, very different fields. Like we have people who have, after graduation, moved on to do a PhD in international relations, for example. So having an MA in English language literature, for example, gives you a lot of philosophical and linguistic background, which you can move on to do PhD in very different fields. Same for English language teaching. They can work as teachers, they can work as consultants. So there are many job opportunities. Some of our students have moved on to set up their own language schools. They are working as translators as well, because linguistics and translation is also part of the courses sometimes. So even though it's very specific, we've had quite a range of job opportunities that our students have found themselves, actually.
That's amazing. It's indeed, it is a specific field, but it seems that it has a very broad a panoply of opportunities when it comes to employment.
Yes.
We have talked about the students who graduate from us, but I would like to go back to prospective students now, because I believe that a lot of our viewers will be prospective students. Can you shed some light on what are the academic requirements of the program?
The applications are done through the international office. So we expect the students to have at least 2.0 CGPA out of 4 at the time of application. So that should be their graduating degree minimum. We also expect them to have good command of English, because all of our courses are conducted in English. I think basically these are the 2 things that we are looking for, and they should be part of, they should have graduated from a relevant department. Although we had students from, for example, business administration doing an MA in ELT. So this doesn't mean that we don't accept students from other departments, but what we do is we offer them a number of academic prep courses in addition to the MA courses or the PhD courses they're going to take. So depending on what courses they have taken in the previous education, we offer them a number of BA courses or MA courses so that they can get prepared for what the department requires. So they have the background information.
Thank you again, Professor, for your detailed answer. I would like to just address myself to those who are watching us right now. Thank you for their warm comments. I see that you are very respected, very well known, and very appreciated and loved. Again, this shows how this shows the quality of the education being given to our students. And like you mentioned, there are even graduate students who are attending us right now. So hi everyone. Um, and so, is there anything else that you would like to add? Maybe that from the questions, it was not the questions were not directed towards maybe some details that you would like to add. If there's anything that you would like to add, please, Professor.
Maybe we can talk about the duration, because I think there was a question about that, the duration of the degrees. The MA programs are usually 2 years. First year is for the courses, and the second year for the thesis, if the students choose to do a thesis. We have got, in our programs, we have got 7 courses, taught courses, plus a seminar and the thesis. The same thing for the PhD, but the minimum duration for the PhD is 3 years. So the students can finish their courses in 1 year, and they have 2 years for the thesis, because the PhD projects usually are more comprehensive. So if the students feel they can apply for non-thesis program from the beginning, or after the first semester, if they feel like they are not ready to write a thesis, they can go on to do a non-thesis program, where they will be taking 10 courses this time, and the small project instead of the thesis. The diploma they get at the end of the non-thesis program is exactly the same as the thesis program. But this is only for the MA. Let me clarify that. We don't have the non-thesis for the PhD. So the only difference between the non-thesis and thesis programs is that the non-thesis students cannot really go on to do a PhD unless they write a thesis according to the regulations. So they can graduate from the non-thesis program, and they can apply for a PhD program, but they will be asked to write a thesis first, an MA level thesis, and then start the PhD if they graduate from a non-thesis program. So there are endless opportunities, if you ask me. And the students are more than welcome to join our department if they are from the field, or even if they're not from the field. And I believe that we have a lot to offer to them.
Indeed. Thank you so much again for your very detailed answer. So, dear Professor, now I would like to just really give you to thank you for on behalf of the whole team, actually, to have honored us with your presence today. And I believe that it was a very successful session, a very fruitful session that will help all of our students, a very motivational one as well. So thank you, Professor.
Thank you for inviting me.
Again. You're very welcome. We hope to see you again, and good luck with the continuation of your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. So now I would like to mention about the application procedure for our university. So for you to apply to Nearest University, you can directly apply to our online